Are you tired of leading a race, only to watch another boat clinch the victory, seemingly out of thin air? You've tuned your boat. You're passing boats when it's a drag race. And your crew work is great, but you're consistently getting beaten by the same people. Is this you? Let's be honest, it's frustrating.
I got it.
But the hard truth is, while you're focused on squeezing every last tenth of a knot out of your boat, they're playing a different game and sailing a shorter race. They're using a secret that the pros know. Not all wind is created equal. Far more can be gained or lost in a single wind shift than can ever be made up by just having a slightly faster boat. This video breaks down the 3 fundamental types of wind variations that the pros use to make strategic and tactical decisions on the race course. And I'll show you examples of what 2 of them look like on the water, not just whiteboard abstractions. And the third? Stick around and you'll see that that one is the most important and difficult shift to master of all. So why are wind shifts so important? It all comes down to a concept you'll often hear called ladder rungs. Picture the race course not as open water, but as a giant invisible ladder. The rungs are always perpendicular to the wind. Often not to the course, I would add. And your goal is to climb on the ladder to the windward mark as efficiently as possible. And this means that every time the wind shifts, the ladder sways a bit. If you're on the lucky side of that shift, it's like landing on a move ahead 1 square in a board game. You get a free boost up the course. If you're on the wrong side, you've hit a lose your next turn, and you effectively slide down. And the gains and losses are not tiny. A simple 10-degree wind shift, something you might not even feel, can create a massive gain or loss relative to a competitor. It means that your main competition is against the wind itself. The first step is knowing what kind of river you're sailing on. That's why the boat that sails the smartest race nearly always beats the one that only sails the fastest race. Think of the wind as a powerful, invisible river. You can fight its current, or you could learn to use its eddies and flows to get where you want to go faster. The pros know that good coaches are what help you master that. The first and most common type of shift is the oscillating shift. Think of the wind like a slow pair of windshield wipers, swinging back and forth across an average direction. It might swing 10 degrees left for a few minutes, then swing back 10 degrees to the right. Like the old-fashioned windshield wipers, they slow down or even get stuck a bit from time to time. Oscillations are there, even on the open ocean. The winning strategy here is simple. Tack on the headers. For the beginners, a header, also called a knock, as in a knock on the head, is when the wind shifts against your bow, making you point further away from the mark. A lift is the opposite. And don't worry, I'm going to show you what they look like in a minute. I like to think of it as trying to reach the top floor of a building on a pair of escalators that are perfectly matched on the bottom floor. One escalator is the starboard tack and the other one the port tack. A header is like when your current escalator suddenly slows down and falls behind the other one. You wouldn't just stand there, you'd immediately hop over to the other escalator, which is now getting ahead. Tacking on a header is exactly that, leaving the losing tack for the winning one. boats that don't tack are just riding the slower escalator, sailing a longer distance to get to the same place. So how do you know how much the wind is oscillating, and what do you look for when it heads you? Before the race, get a feel for your average compass heading on both the starboard and port tack. Now write it down if you want. During the race, if you see your compass drop below that average, you're in a header. It's time to think about hopping on the other escalator. Now for a pro tip. You don't always have to tack on the very first puff of an oscillating header. If you see the shifts are slow and rhythmic, sometimes you can sail a little deeper into the header. This can separate you from the boats that tacked earlier, setting you up for an even bigger gain when the wind swings back. And the pros also know that some prevailing wind directions tend to have more oscillations than others. The second type of wind shift is the one that really blows the fleet apart. It's called a persistent shift. But before we get into that, I would ask if you like this content, please click the like and subscribe. It helps me to keep these going. The only thing I'm selling is the sport itself. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, no AI in this video, for visual or audio. A persistent shift happens when the wind slowly but surely shifts in one direction and just doesn't swing back. Often, skippers don't expect this. They only are anticipating the oscillations. This might be from a weather front moving in, a sea breeze building, or the shape of the land, or even something else you see in the clouds. Here's the most important part. In a persistent shift, your strategy is the exact opposite of what you do in oscillations. The winning move is sail towards the next shift. It means if you start getting a header, you do not tack. You keep going. You want to go to the side where the ladder is rising as fast as possible. Don't change to the other escalator. If you are sensing a persistent shift to the right, you want to get to the right side of the course as quickly as possible. And this is where you can see huge race-winning gains if you are skilled enough to catch them. But how do you know if the shift is persistent versus just an oscillation? Sounds like this could have a lot of traps. And you'd be right. But this is where the mastery of the HA level comes in. Experience, coaching, and self-improvement and local knowledge are the only ways you'll get there. I'll give you a few hints to get started at the end of this video though. If you followed my channel as I've learned this with the super all-star crew of Sailing Team Tally-Ho and my sailing school students, you'll know that what we've just covered so far is just a basic shoe level of understanding. We're only observing and obeying at this point. The real HA mastery comes from not only reacting to the shifts, but in being proactive with them before they even reach you. It is said that one of the greatest chess masters of all time, Bobby Fischer, would be able to project the possibilities of his opponents out to 20 moves. That's as many as a number 2 with 18 zero possibilities after it. Truly astronomical. Yacht racing, and especially buoy, match, and team racing, is sort of the same way. We just don't have those pesky little squares on our game table. This all sounds great, but how do you actually see what the wind is doing? We're not going to see these ladder rungs on the water, and the wind certainly doesn't announce that it's going to shift with big arrows. And the idea of the rungs can be misleading if the boats are far apart. You have to get your head out of the boat and use every clue available. First, use the boats ahead as your scouts. If a group of boats upwind suddenly points higher, they just got lifted, which means a header is probably on its way to you. If they start pointing lower, they're headed, and you might be about to get a nice oscillating lift. Are the boats on the other side of the course lifted or headed way more than you are? Maybe they're getting a persistent shift. And a hint for persistent shifts is to look at the wind forecast itself ahead of time. Second is read the water and discuss it with your crew. Treat it like you're detectives at a crime scene. The dark patches, the puffs, and the gusts are all clues left behind by the wind, telling you what it just did and what it might do next. Be aware that these dark patches are moving and are not all the same size or intensity. As promised, I'm going to show you some footage of what a header and a lifter look like on the water. Here we are at about 12 to 25 knots. Yes, that much. And you'll see a gust coming. Here you see it just off our starboard side. It's a little lull, and then there's another one right here, much stronger actually. Then it lets go. Another lull. Another puff at about 20 plus knots. And this is the strongest one yet. The shaking you see is actually the mast shaking. So you can see these are really fast moving puffs and lulls. And they require a lot of trimming. And here's another one. Here I'm having to luff the main just to keep the boat upright. That's about a 25 knot gust. And here we have an oscillating header that eventually turns into a persistent shift as a lift, as it lightens up. The persistent shift occurs because we're getting kind of close to the shore. Is that a factor in a race? It sure is. Here's a light air version of the same. Notice the darker patches on the water with the intermittent calm streaks. These correspond with puffs or lulls of wind and can contain shifts within them. They of course don't move as fast as they do at 25 knots, but they're still there. I have generally found that in lighter airs, they tend to be more streaky, and not so much like the big bowling balls you see coming at you in heavier airs. I believe this is due to the less or slower vertical wind action. Let's get back to our methods of how to see our shifts, and that is to use our tools. Your compass is your most honest friend. Checking your heading against your average when you get into these shifts is critical, but don't use it in a vacuum. The compass won't tell you what type of shift you're experiencing, and we all have biases that can sucker us into making the wrong decision. And keep in mind, the compass doesn't know anything about where we are on the playing field. We still need to use our strategic head to stay in bounds. And the last tool for this video? Used polarized sunglasses in sunny weather and non-polarized, I used yellow shotgun sports glasses in cloudy weather. They allow you to see the wind on the water significantly better than just your eyeballs. Plus it's better for you anyways. This brings us to our third type of shift, which is one we cause. It's not really real. It's a pseudo shift. You can't see it directly on the water, which makes it that much more elusive. We call it a velo shift, and it is caused purely by the change in our own boat speed with respect to the wind speed. Think of it like when you hear a train horn as it passes you. The mind bender is that pretty much all of the gusts and puffs I showed you will also have a velo shift associated with them, even if they had no real shift in them. But not responding to them correctly will cause you to repeatedly flub your sail trim by either being over or under trimmed, and will definitely cost you. In fact, I think that dealing with velo shifts is one of the most difficult aspects of racing. Easing that out and I think this is such a big subject, I'm going to dedicate a soon-to-be upcoming video, with real footage of course, just on that. So let's land this plane. We now know that the secret to winning isn't just about raw speed. It's about sailing the shortest possible distance. Remember these key takeaways. In oscillating winds, the primary rule is tack on the headers to stay on the fastest escalator. In persistent shifts, do the opposite. Sail fast towards the new wind and get to the rising side of the ladder first. Prioritize puffs in light air and shifts in heavy air. In light air, a puff is like finding a gas station on a lonely stretch of road when your car is just running on fumes. Any fuel is good, and just getting moving is more important than the perfect direction. In heavy air, the gas stations are everywhere, and you have plenty of power, so now direction is everything. Here's a challenge for your next sail. Before the race even starts, dedicate your focus to one thing, figuring out how the wind is actually behaving. Is the direction swinging back and forth? Or is it trending in one direction, or both? What is the timing of those oscillations? And do they come with a significant change in velocity? Is the oscillating swing even? It rarely is. Are there sub-oscillations within the main one? There often are. See if you can pick those out. The truth is that the wind is far less behaving than anything you can draw on a whiteboard. The pros know this. Okay, well, what have I done? I've answered one question by posing a whole bunch of new ones. And get this, you've got to figure out all of this while you are at the same time trimming sails, hiking, and driving the boat to perfection. Oh yes, and dealing with big waves too. If you're a skipper, you can get out on the water and help your crew know what you're looking for. If you're a crew member, and especially a new sailor, observe and see what the wind and your skipper will teach you. Good coaches help a lot too. They will point out things that you may miss at your level of learning. But you can catch some of those insights from an earlier video I made. Link is in the comments, or it may just show up on your feed. It's titled, The One Sailing Skill That Changed Everything. In our next video, we'll get into some of the traps that the pros avoid on this subject, especially around the velo shift.